If you ever find a trail of salt leading into the forest, don't step over it, it wasn't meant for you. I grew up in a town that people forget on purpose. We're tucked between the backroads of an old mining area in Colorado, surrounded by dense forest that feels older than time. The locals call it Saltrude Hollow. Tourists don't come here anymore. Most of the signs leading in are rusted over, and GPS always reroutes you somewhere else. But the weird thing is, people don't leave either. Not really. You'll find their mail still being delivered. Their lights still flickering at night. Sometimes, you even hear their voices, even though no one's lived in their homes for years. I was 16 the first time I saw it, the Trail of Salt. It started behind the old church ruins and curved into the thickest part of the hollow. Long, winding, like someone poured it slowly, deliberately, from a leaking bag. Everyone knew the stories. The salt trail wasn't meant for the living. It was a barrier, a warning, and it never leads back out. You were told, if you ever saw a salt trail that wasn't there before, you walk away. You don't follow it. You don't cross it. And you sure as hell don't disturb it. But curiosity is louder than warnings when you're a stupid teenager with a bruised ego. My brother Sam and I had just fought. He said I was weak. That I believed in ghost stories and made up monsters. So I did what any dumb little sibling would do, I challenged him. Dared him to follow the salt trail with me. Said we'd go 5 minutes in, take a selfie, and get out. Prove nothing was out there. Prove we weren't scared. We stepped over the salt just as the sun dipped low behind the mountains. Everything shifted the moment we crossed. The woods got quiet. Too quiet. No wind, no birds, not even bugs. Just silence, like the whole forest was holding its breath. The trees looked wrong, thicker, closer together than I remembered. The bark on them was gray, flaky, and some had symbols carved deep into them. Runes maybe, or letters from a language that made my skin crawl just to look at. About 10 minutes in, Sam stopped. He pointed at something on a tree ahead. At first, I thought it was a skull. Human-sized, wedged into a knot of roots high up. But then it blinked. Its eyes were still in it, milky and wet. Watching. The tree pulsed like it had veins. Something behind the bark was breathing. We ran. We didn't know where we were going, just that we needed to go anywhere else. The salt trail was gone behind us. Gone. Not disturbed, not smudged, just erased like it had never existed. The forest got darker even though it wasn't nighttime yet. We saw shadows that didn't match our movements, heard footsteps circling us that didn't echo when we stopped. Sam said he saw our dad standing behind one of the trees. Only Dad had been dead for years. I saw my dog, who'd gone missing last winter, standing with its neck bent sideways, tongue still frozen mid-bark. Then the singing started. Soft at first, like a woman humming to herself. Except it was off-key. Like someone mimicking a human tune but not understanding melody. It grew louder the deeper we ran. Sam tripped over a root and screamed. I turned, and something tall and white stepped out from behind a tree. It didn't walk. It glided. Its face was smooth like porcelain, but its mouth went all the way up its cheeks, stitched at the corners with something black and wet. Its arms were too long, dragging fingertips that scratched deep into the ground. Its eyes were like burned holes, but glowing faintly red from inside. It didn't blink. It just tilted its head and began humming louder, like it was savoring something. I grabbed Sam and ran until I couldn't breathe. I don't know how we got out. 1 minute we were crashing through brambles and branches, the next we were lying on the grass just past the church ruins. The salt trail was there again, unbroken. We never spoke of it again. Not to our parents. Not to each other. Sam stopped talking entirely. He hasn't said a word in 3 years. He just sits by the window, watching the forest line, flinching every time the wind carries that same low hum. Rules to survive Saltrude Hollow. 1. Never follow a trail of salt into the woods. It's not for you. It's a warning, not an invitation. 2. If you find yourself on the other side of the salt, do not trust anything you see. Not people. Not pets. Not even your own voice. 3. Ignore the singing. The more you acknowledge it, the louder it gets. 4. Never accept gifts from the trees. They offer to trade, but the price is your memory, or worse. 5. If you make it back out, never return. They remember the ones who break the boundary. And they wait. That's why I didn't run right away when I stumbled out of the hollow. My body screamed to bolt into the open field and toward the dim, flickering light of a farmhouse in the distance, but some instinct deeper than fear whispered, wait. If they see you run, they'll follow. So I stood there, panting, trembling, eyes darting across the tangled thicket behind me, trying not to blink too long in case they moved again. The branches didn't sway. The shadows didn't twitch. But something was there, breathing with me, mimicking the rise and fall of my chest just out of sight. The moon hung low like a watching eye, half-lidded, barely veiled by a whisper of clouds. Every step I took backward into the field felt like dragging myself out of a grave. The tall grass seemed heavier now, weighed down with watching. When I reached the gravel road that separated the hollow from the rest of the world, I didn't turn my back on it. I walked backwards the whole way, until the first porch light of the farmhouse spilled across my legs and bathed my shaking hands in safety. I collapsed on their porch, sobbing. The old woman who lived there, Eleanor, didn't ask questions when she saw the blood on my shirt and the black soil under my fingernails. She just brought out salt and scattered it in a circle around us. "They know you're sent now," she muttered, not looking at me. "You don't go into their hollow unless you want to carry them with you." I slept in her root cellar that night, surrounded by jars of peaches and pickled eggs and the thick smell of damp stone. The dreams didn't come until just before dawn, visions of limbs bent wrong, of smiles too wide stretched over bark and bone, and whispers from behind the trees, calling my name in voices that didn't belong to anyone I'd ever met. In the dream, I could feel them touching the back of my neck, long fingers brushing against my spine as if to remind me, "You were there. And we remember." Weeks passed. I left town. I burned the clothes I wore that night. I moved across the country, changed my number, erased my online accounts. But every once in a while, just before sleep pulls me under, I hear that same rustle in the bushes. Sometimes, if I listen closely, I can even hear the sound of footsteps in the attic, soft, dragging steps like someone pacing barefoot across the floor above me, even though I now live on the top floor of an apartment complex. 2 nights ago, I woke to find dirt on my bedsheets. Rich, dark soil like the kind in the hollow. The smell of moss was thick in the air, and carved into the windowpane was a single word: soon. I don't think they ever stayed in the hollow. I think they come and go as they please, crossing through shadows, slipping between trees and power lines and long-forgotten memories. And when they find someone who trespasses where they shouldn't, they cling like rot, quiet, patient, and slowly spreading. Every time I see my reflection now, it lingers a second too long. Every time I look at photos of myself, I notice my eyes are just a little too dark, like something else is staring out through them. If you ever hear someone whisper your name from the trees, even if you're miles away from that cursed place, don't answer. Don't even flinch. Just leave whatever you're doing and surround yourself with light, with people, with movement. Don't be still. Don't give them a place to settle. Because once they remember you, they never forget. And eventually, they'll want you to come back, not to visit. To stay. Forever. That word haunted me long after I staggered out of those cursed woods. The air outside the boundary felt thinner somehow, artificial, as if the world I returned to was no longer the same one I had left. The trees no longer whispered, but the silence was worse. It pressed against my skull like a vice. I knew something had followed me, even if I couldn't see it at first. Shadows lingered too long on the walls, reflections in windows moved when I stayed still, and every time I closed my eyes, I felt watched. The first night back, I locked every door, every window. I unplugged the clocks. I even threw my phone in the trash outside, like it could trace me through screens and signals. But it wasn't enough. Around 3:17 a.m. I know the time because the microwave inexplicably lit up despite being unplugged. I heard the crunch of leaves outside my window. Not the wind. Not an animal. Something stepping. Deliberate. Measured. Stalking. I didn't dare look, but I heard it, long, dragging breaths. Like a giant sucking in the cold night, tasting the air I breathed. Then came the soft chittering, dozens of whispering voices echoing from no mouths. My curtains fluttered without wind. My shadow on the wall stretched, distorted, moving as if held on puppet strings by something behind the glass. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I found muddy footprints on the ceiling. Small, childlike. Barefoot. Each one perfectly formed, toes splayed outward like someone walking upside down. No break in the pattern. Just prints trailing across my living room ceiling, over the TV, down the hallway, and stopping above my bed. I tried leaving town. Got as far as the highway. But every road sign had changed, names scratched out and replaced with nonsense symbols. Gas stations were empty. No cars. No people. Just the sound of static on every speaker I passed, even the birds seemed gone. And when I turned on the radio for company, I only heard my own voice, distorted and echoing, saying things I never remembered saying, They remember you. You promised never to return. I drove in circles for hours. Every exit I took led me right back to my house. No matter the direction, the result was the same. The forest crept closer. By the fourth night, I had dreams. Not dreams, memories, but not mine. I saw the first ones, the ones who entered before me. A girl in the 1800s wearing a white nightgown, stumbling through fog. A group of campers in the 1970s laughing around a fire that didn't cast shadows. A boy in the 2000s live streaming his final steps into the woods before the video ended in screams and static. I watched them all disappear. I watched what replaced them take form. They don't kill you in that place. That would be mercy. No, they unmake you. Piece by piece. Bit by bit. Until your voice becomes one of the whispers. Until your smile becomes a mask hanging on a branch. Until your eyes, glowing and empty, become the lures to draw in the next poor soul. And now, I'm forgetting things. My name doesn't sound right when I say it aloud. My reflection doesn't move when I do. My cat no longer comes near me, and my shadow no longer waits for light. The boundary wasn't just in those woods, it's in me now. A splinter beneath the skin. I can feel it growing. Last night, I woke up standing in my backyard. The trees were closer than ever. One of them had a face. A familiar one. Mine. But it wasn't carved. It was alive. Breathing. Smiling with my teeth. I don't know how much longer I have before I go back. I think part of me already has. But if you're reading this, if any of this sounds familiar, if you ever hear a name in your sleep you don't remember learning, or wake up with dirt beneath your nails and no memory of how it got there, burn this message. Forget you ever saw it. Never go near the forest edge. Because the trees remember. And soon, you will too.